Hello everyone. I'm going to walk you through with most highest and difficult question on final exam practice. So let's get started with number 1. The question number 1, which is about find the mean, median and mode of the data set. In order to find out mean, median and mode using the formula and rule, let's look at the explanation which you can see on this right side menu bar. So I'm going to click on this explanation right here. Now mean means average. In another word, add all value divided by total number of data set. As I have a 10 data, I add all those 10 data into my numerator and divided by 10. So the sum of those data is 693 divided by 10, which makes 69.3. In order to find out median, first you need to arrange your data from small to the highest order. Now there is a 2 rule. If your number of data is odd and if your number of data is even. For me, median is exactly middle value in the shortlist. So what exactly you can do in this case is you can just find exactly middle value. Well, you can find easily just putting cross from left and right. If there is exactly one data, that's the median. If there are two data which are in the middle, on that case, you need to add those data and divide it by 2. In another word, find the average of two middle data. This is the method to find out median. Now, the third thing is mode. Mode, it is the data which repeating highest number of time in the data set. In another word, data which has highest frequency. So here I can see I have 87 which repeating 3 times, which is the highest. That's the reason I have only one mode which is 87 here. If there is two data which are repeating same number of time, on that time you have it two modes. And if there is no data which are repeating, you will select the third option, 0 mode. Question number 2, which is about 5-number summary. In order to find out 5-number summary, using step by step, you can refer to the explanation again. But here I'm going to show you how to use calculator. So I'm going to show you how to use scientific calculator to find out 5-number summary. Scientific calculator, that means any calculator which is above 83 or 83 plus. So first of all, we need to enter this data into the calculator. In order to enter the data set, click on the stat and choose the option edit. If you have an empty list, you can use it. If you don't have it, make it empty. I make it my L1 empty and now enter the data. Total I have a 14 data. So while you are entering this data, be careful, make sure you don't miss any data. So here I'm entering each data carefully. If there is any data which is repeating, make sure you enter 2 times. So I have a 45 repeating, so I enter the 2 times. And now I'm almost done here. So yes, here I have a 14 data set. Now click on the stat key again, and this time highlight calc. Calc means calculation. By default, your 1-number option will be highlighted. Click enter. And now select the list number you have entered the data set. I have entered the data into my L1, so I will select second option, that means the click on second key, and then click on number 1. And now enter again. You may need to scroll down in order to look for 5-number summary. So here we have a 5-number summary. 5-number summary is consist minimum, first quartile, that means Q1, median, that means the second quartile, Q3, that means third quartile, and maximum value. The last question, which is about interquartile range. Interquartile range, which is nothing but Q3 minus Q1. So the formula is third quartile minus first quartile. You can directly do it here in your calculator, just doing subtraction. And that's it. This is the interquartile. The next question is here. Find the standard deviation of the population. In order to find out standard deviation using the formula, you can refer to the explanation. The explanation will show you how to find out population standard deviation using the formula. You can also use LX calculator as well. So in order to find out population standard deviation, the first thing you need to find out mean of the data set. The mean means add all value divided by total number of data. In this case, I have 5 data, so I have a mean 32. The formula for population standard deviation, which is actually consists radical of sum of square of deviation divided by total number of data. So this is the formula look like. So first you need to find out deviation of each data, take a square and add them. Deviation means data minus mean. So subtract the mean from each data. I have a 32, which is a mean, subtract from the 25. You gotta keep doing for each data. Same time, take a square and then add all these squares value. And later divided by number of data. I have a 5, so divided by 5. We are almost there. First, you need to find out division and then take a radical. So I have a population standard deviation is 5.51. The next question, you can use table or LX calculator. I will show you with the table. So here I'm going to use the explanation again. In this question, you're going to use a normal distribution table. So here I have a question about whose mean is 288 minutes and standard deviation is 40 minutes. Use the table or calculator and find the percentage of the time longer than 364. So here we are looking for percentage above 364. Now, according to the normal distribution, above that means the right side area of the normal distribution. So here I have a normal distribution curve whose center, which is a mean, and highlighted area, which is the right side, in another word, above 364. Now, first thing you need to do is you gotta convert your data into the z-score. So first you need to find out z-score for the data 364. So as I have a data 364, subtract the mean 288 and divided by standard deviation, which gives me my z-score. Make sure you keep it your z-score 2 decimal places. I got 1.9, in another word 1.90. I'm looking for right side of this area. Okay, now let's use the table, which you can see right here in this link. But remember that the table gives you only left side area. So when I look for the number 1.9 on a Z table, which you can find here, this is the 1.9 left side area, 0.9713. But remember that this is actually a left side area. That means this area. In order to find out right side area, you need to do 1 minus left side area. Why? Because the total area, it's a 1. So in order to find out right, subtract the left from the 1. So when you do 1 minus 0.9713, then you can find out right side area. That means the correct one. So here I have an answer 0.0287. In another word, percentage 2.87 percentage. The next question is about evaluate the function. In order to evaluate the function, you need to replace x value into the function. So as first I'm looking for f of 3, you just need to replace 3 instead of x into the f function. So you can write 3 instead of x. But first I'm going to write the whole function as it is. And now I'm replacing 3 instead of x. Use the PEMDAS rule. So according to the PEMDAS rule, we do multiplication first. So first you need to multiply these two values. Negative 3 times 3, which is negative 9. And now you can add, which gives you negative 7. Similarly, you can find out g of negative 3. That means the second one. Just replace negative 3 instead of x. Again, be careful. You are replacing instead of x. So make sure you use parenthesis first and then replace it. Now simplify it. So first we do the parenthesis, then exponent. So don't multiply 2 and negative 3. First you need to take an exponent. So keep the 2 as it is and negative 3 with the third power. That means negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, which is negative 27 and plus 2. Now we do multiplication first. Keep the minus as it is. And now simplify it. So my second answer is negative 52. Once again, reminder, make sure you follow PEMDAS rule for particular this problem. The next question, which is about the shape of the scatter plot, how the shape look like. Now, scatter plot is nothing but like dots, X and Y dots here. Now, let me show you the explanation here. Well, it is easy to identify the shape of the scatter plot as you see figure number 1, which is look like pretty much like U shape. In another word, this is a non-linear data. So this picture is represent non-linear relationship. The second picture, which is pretty much like straight line, but you can see the straight line, which is a perfect. That is also called negative linear relationship. It is a negative because slope is the negative, and it is a linear as well. Similarly, the third picture, which is also linear relationship, but positive. And the last figure, which has a scatter all over on our X and Y plane, which represent no relationship. Now the next question, which is a finance question. In this question, you have value, percentage, times, and part A and part B. You can also see financial formula in this link as well. So let's take an explanation which formula we're going to use for particular this problem. So in this problem, the question is about Philip deposit $2,000 into the account which pays simple interest. The keyword is simple interest. That means we're going to use simple interest formula with rate 4%. So rate is the 4%, deposit is $2,000, and the timing, which is 4 years. So in order to find out the question number 1, that means total interest, the simple interest formula is I equal to PRT. The P represent principal amount, R represent annual interest rate, and T represent time. Remember that time must be in a year and rate must be in a decimal. So don't forget to convert 4% into decimal 0.04. Substitute those values into the formula, which gives you simple interest $320. The second part of that question is what will be the future value? In another word, what will be the total amount after the interest? So as we have deposited $2,000, we earn 320. Total become 2,320 here. Next question, little interesting here. In this question, you can see the word annuity. This is the keyword. Interest rate, 2%. Another keyword, compounded annually. Timing, 5 years. And each year payment is 3,349. Once again, you have a link to look for the financial formula. Here, I will use the explanation. So, the annuity formula, which is look like this. In this formula, remember that the meaning of the M symbol, which represent regular payment. It can be monthly payment, it can be annual payment, it can be quarterly payment. But in another word, it is a payment. Then you have a brackets. Inside the brackets, the formula is 1 plus R over N. Again, R represent rate. N is represent number of times a year the interest is compounded. And the T represent timing here. So in this problem, we are making a deposit of 3,349 annually. So that's the reason you got to substitute M 3349. Substitute rate 2%. Don't forget to convert into decimal 0.01. And yes, the N is 1 here. Why? Because it is compounded annually. That's the reason I say there are two keywords. This word is represent annuity. Annuity means which formula you're going to use. And then another one is compounded annually, which represent what is your N value. Substitute all the value into the formula. And yes, while you are using your calculator, don't forget you must need to use PEMDAS rule. That means you must need to simplify the parenthesis first, then exponent, then this bracket things, then you can multiply, and then you can divide. One another rule, please remember in a finances, do not round value during the steps in a calculation, but in a final step. So you need to round your answer only at final step, only here. Otherwise, keep all decimal during the calculation. The next problem is estimate this value by first rounding each number to the nearest thousand. In order to round this value, we need to use rounding rule. So first step is you need to round your number to the nearest thousand first. Thousand number, that means I need to round my answer right here at 5. The rule says if your next number on a right side, if it is 5 or more than 5, you gotta add 1 into the place. But if it is not, you can drop the 0. So as I have a 5 here at my place and my next right number is actually 0. So I don't need to add 1. My rounding is become 85,000. Similarly, if I do this rounding at 5, my right side number is 1, which is actually lower than 5. That's the reason that number is become 0 and value is become 25,000. Once you finish rounding, then you need to subtract and that's give you your final answer. The last question, which is about logic statement. How to represent logic as a symbolical way. So here you have a descriptive form and you're going to write a symbolical form for the first question and the second question. The third question, you have a symbol and write a symbolic statement form. So I'm going to use explanation again. Now the first question here is, as you notice, the statement is P. There are birds at the zoo. The statement Q is represent there are lions at the zoo. In this statement, the very first statement, there are lions at the zoo, which represent Q statement. The connective here is or, and the next statement, there are birds at the zoo, which represent statement P. That's the reason the symbolical form of this compound statement is become Q. For the or, we use the symbol just like look like English alphabet V. And then the next statement is P. So compound statement is become Q, V, P. The second one, there are no birds at the zoo. This is actually negation of there are birds at the zoo. And in order to represent negation, we use a symbol of the negation in front of the statement symbol. The last one, you have a symbolical form, which is Q upside V, which is actually a symbol of connective and then P. So first statement is the Q statement. There are lions at the zoo, connective and there are birds at the zoo. I hope this will be helpful for the preparation of the exam. Keep practice and study hard.